All right, everyone, look, I have a confession to make. Fitting with the movie Immaculate, I have a confession to make. Um, I have not seen any other horror movie this year. This is my first horror movie of the year that I've watched in theaters or just in general that was released this year. Okay, I have not seen Imaginary. I did not see Night Swim. I will see them eventually, but I haven't seen them, so I must say this is my first horror film of the year. I know those two are supposedly extremely garbage, but I just I don't know. I'm gonna see Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey too. Okay, I'm gonna see that for a fact. That comes out next weekend. I'm gonna see that for a fact, but I haven't seen those other two. So this is my first horror film of the year horror film review. As you know, if you've been here for a while, or if not, I'm a big horror fan, and I am hypercritical when it comes to horror films because it's just a genre that I really enjoy, and I feel like if done well, it could be extremely artistically unique and just a very it's underrated. I would say horror is underrated in terms of how artistical it can be. And walking into this movie, I really had no expectations. Nowadays I walk into any movie without expectations. The only movie I expect anything from it, and it's not positive, is Godzilla versus Kong or like X Kong. It's not versus Kong, X Kong. That's the only movie I'm expecting to just like cringe 95% of it. But regardless of that, we're talking here about Immaculate. And this movie is the worst thing I hate about horror. Literally, this movie is just the most generic, bland, insidious universe type, conjuring type horror film. All right. And I'm not talking Conjuring 1, which I still think to this day is the best Conjuring movie, and it's not going to get topped by any one they make. Like it's just jump scare central. The first act of this movie, it's like a jump scare per 10 seconds. Like I swear there's so many jump scares in this film. And honestly, it's mostly abundant in the first act. Then it like kind of like switches off in the second act. It kind of goes for something more eerie, which is something that I appreciate way more when it comes to horror films. I feel like we should all sign a petition to make horror films less jump scare. Like actually, like if you're gonna make a jump scare in a movie, you have to pay like a fucking $50,000 fine for it because it's so annoying. And it's not even like well constructed jump scares. It's just really loud noises. There's a jump scare here which is literally a transition from one scene to the other. That's the jump scare. She was like walking out of this room, and then we don't see anything. The camera's like panned to something she picked up from the room, and then the jump scare is literally like a door just like crashing in, and her running away. That's the jump scare. Like it's not creepy. It's not well built. It's just a surprise factor. It's horrible. I hate horror films like that. And honestly, this movie didn't even feel like a horror film itself. It felt more like a creepy drama. Like the story wise, it was very interesting. Shitting on these fanatics, this Christian fanatics, which is something I'm against. Like I believe in God and everything, but fanatics are something different. Those people are just weird. They're just borderline weird. And story wise, I feel like it's really good. It was like kind of working, and it was kind of getting me like kind of hooked. But when all the tension it's revolved around some jump scares, and not a lot is shown into like the creepy factor, like something like I don't know, sinister about these fanatics. That's not here. Like yes, you kind of like can see some characters be like, oh, this is kind of fishy, this is kind of creepy, this is kind of like a weird place to be in, but it's not. They didn't really go for that. They went more for like the safe zone, the more like insidious kind of horror. Like they just at a point they just didn't really care, and that's kind of like a problem. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, horror films like this is just something that I don't enjoy. It's not a good time watching it. Like at least for me, like I said, I'm very hypercritical about horror films. It's just not enjoyable for me. Like when the major substance of the horror is literally like oh my god, like it's literally just jump scares. I can't like I'm literally out. right? I just wish there were some scenes in this movie where like it felt like kind of like Hereditary, where like you're at a place and the camera's like panning around and you don't know what's going on, like you're looking for the horror. That's when the movie's like at its best. And it's only like 3 scenes where there's like a naked, even there's even like a naked lady outside of a doorway at one scene, which reminded me of that last scene from Hereditary, or like that last section. Like that's when the movie was like shining. That was like when it felt creepy. It should have just sided more with that, just being creepy rather than just being just like, oh a jump scare. Like no, like we really need to stop making jump scare films. They suck. They're horrible. I don't know how you like them. And let's just all sign a petition, please, for the love of God, to make them stop making movies like that. Another thing, there's the scene, it pissed me off. It's literally the last scene of the movie, or like the last section, like the last act, the climactic point, where Sydney Sweeney's character was running through the catacombs, and some catacombs that were there, right? And she's like running around. So this is a very tense portion of the film, right? She's running away from something, someone, and something is going on, right? She's like in a very dark catacomb place. It's just a flashlight scene, so you can feel the tension. It was very well constructed, but there's one thing that ruined it for me: the score. I don't know who the fuck did the score for this film, but he got an F minus on that section. Because they were like doing some pads, like it was some pads there, and like this is the moment, this was like a scene where less was more. The less sounds, the more like creepy and more tense the scene would have been, but we didn't do that. What we did was add some pads. You were playing piano keys, they let them, like they just hit them right here. I'll explain what he did. So this is the piano, right? He's doing the score. So he hit these notes, or whatever notes. He left them like this, which is great. They're very long chord progressions. But then suddenly he was like, oh, wait a minute. It's too empty. Let's add more. And then he did this. And then that's the whole score for that scene. They just added sound after sound after sound after sound. Like all of a sudden there's like fucking, it sounded like a salsa orchestra. Like it was something stupid. Like I was like, what is going on, bro? Am I watching a horror film or Discovery Channel? Like I don't understand. It was so bad. Like why is on a tension scene you adding so many sounds, so many layers of sounds? Like with like a couple pats it would have been fine. Like if this is the moment where less is more. Like why the hell did they just kept adding sound after sound after sound after sound, guitar strings, piano chords, piano. It's so bad, bro. It was just awful. It was awful. Throughout the movie, the score is not even that great, but that really tipped it off for me. It was horrible. Like I don't know how you saw that scene and you went, this layering is really good. Like no, bro. Like the movie is really just a generic horror film. Like I don't like it. There's a lot of yelling on the movie as well. And I mean a lot of yelling. Like I feel like 70, nah, not that much. Like 45% of the film is spent yelling. Just people yelling all the time. It's kind of weird, but it's whatever. It's just a very generic horror film. Like the safest you can go with a horror film. It had an interesting story and it could have been explored better if they just presented it better. If they sided with the more creepy build up to the climax, to like what exactly is going on in this church. Like it would have been better, because the opening scene was like made you think like, oh, this is interesting. But then the movie just like goes for this completely different pacing, which just ruins pretty much the entire movie. Honestly, it had a good premise, it had a good setup, but it kind of just fell flat at the end, because they just, I feel like they should have taken more risk when it came to like presenting the entire content of the film, rather than just play it safe and go in the Insidious route, which nobody likes Insidious movies. So why are you like going for that anyways? Like, come on. And also, I want to like ask, whoever's watching question, all the people that are watching, and this is more like an opinion, because I don't know if it was the theater that I went to or it was the movie itself, but there were scenes in the movie where they felt just very dark. They were dark as shit. Like there were some points where I could barely see. I could see like a fragment, like a frame of the entire scene. It was weird, and I don't know if it was like the theater that I went to, which is a theater that I don't usually go to watch horror films anyways. But if that was the case, I'm not gonna go to watch more horror films in that theater for sure. So please, if you can, let me know in the comments if the movie was dark for you, so I know if I had to change theaters, or maybe just the movie was just like not even well exposed. So regardless of the matter, giving this movie a rating, I'm gonna give this like a 5 or a six on a good day, because it's just I don't like horror films like this. I don't like when the whole horror is jump scares. It's trash. It's lazy. No, like you had it. Like they had it, but they kind of like fumbled. They really did. But I hope it doesn't happen in the future. Okay, I'm starting to get into the neon train. I like what they're doing, and I'm very excited to see their new movie, Long Legs. I don't know when exactly it's coming out, but that movie looks eerie as fuck, and that's the kind of movie, the kind of horror movie I really enjoy. So, that being said, thanks for watching. If you watch this movie, please let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time.